I want you to imagine something with me right now. Just close your eyes for a moment if you can, or let your mind drift if you're driving or walking. Imagine that right now, in this very moment, there's an invisible river flowing all around you. You can't see it with your physical eyes, but it's there, rushing with abundance, with possibility, with everything you've ever wanted. Health, wealth, love, peace, purpose, all of it flowing in this magnificent current. Now here's the thing that most people never realize. And it breaks my heart because I've watched so many lives pass by in quiet desperation. That river isn't somewhere else. It isn't reserved for the lucky ones or the chosen few. It's right here, right now, and it's been here your entire life. The only question is whether you're standing in it with your cup, or whether you're standing on the shore convinced you're not worthy to drink. 2026 is approaching, and I need you to understand something that very few people on this planet truly grasp. This isn't just another year on the calendar. This isn't just another trip around the sun where you make promises to yourself in January and forget them by February. Something is shifting. Can you feel it? There's an opening happening, a window in consciousness itself, and those who understand what I'm about to share with you, those who truly hear these words, not just with their ears, but with that deeper part of themselves that knows truth when it encounters it, they're going to step into a dimension of living that most people think only exists in fairy tales. You see, I've spent my entire life studying the laws of mind, the principles that govern how thoughts become things, how consciousness shapes reality, how the invisible world of spirit materializes into the visible world of form. And what I've discovered, what I've watched transform thousands upon thousands of lives, is that there are certain moments in time, certain thresholds, where the veil between what is and what could be becomes almost transparent. We're standing at one of those thresholds right now. And if you're hearing these words, it's not an accident. Nothing in this universe is random. Your subconscious mind, that infinite intelligence within you, has guided you here for a reason. Let me tell you what's really happening as we approach 2026. The collective consciousness of humanity is going through what I can only describe as a labor. Like a woman giving birth, there's pressure, there's intensity, there's this sense that something new must emerge. And in that labor, in that cosmic contraction, there's an opportunity for those who understand the laws of mind to literally step into a new version of their life. I'm talking about divine increase, not just getting a little bit more of what you already have. I'm talking about a multiplication, an expansion so profound that when you look back a year from now, you won't even recognize the person you are today. But here's where most people miss it entirely. They're waiting for permission. They're waiting for circumstances to change. They're waiting for the economy to improve, for the right person to come along, for their past to somehow be erased, for God or the universe to finally notice them and sprinkle some magic dust on their life. And while they're waiting, that river of abundance I mentioned, it just keeps flowing right past them. They die of thirst standing 3 feet from water because nobody ever taught them the one simple truth that changes everything. That truth is this, and I need you to really hear me now. Your subconscious mind, that vast, limitless, creative power within you, doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. It doesn't argue. It doesn't judge. It doesn't say, oh, well, you're too old for that, or you don't deserve that, or that's impossible given your circumstances. Your subconscious mind is like the soil in a garden. It accepts whatever seed you plant in it, and it goes to work immediately, day and night, to bring that seed into full bloom in your life. Plant thorns, and you'll get thorns. Plant roses, and you'll get roses. It's that simple, and it's that profound. Now, before we go any further, I want to share something with you that happened to me many years ago. Something that shook me to my core and showed me exactly how this principle works. I was counseling a woman, let's call her Margaret, and Margaret came to me absolutely broken. Her husband had left her, she'd lost her job, she was about to lose her home, and she sat in my office with tears streaming down her face saying, Dr. Murphy, I must have done something terrible in a past life to deserve this kind of punishment. God has abandoned me. I have nothing left. I looked at this dear woman and I said, Margaret, I'm going to tell you something and you're going to think I'm crazy, but I need you to trust me. You are exactly where you need to be. This breakdown is actually a breakthrough trying to happen, but you have to stop arguing for your limitations. You have to stop giving all your mental and emotional energy to what's wrong and start giving it to what's possible. She looked at me like I'd lost my mind, How can I possibly think positive thoughts when my whole world is falling apart? She asked. And this is what I told her, and this is what I'm telling you right now. I said to her, your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's actually happening and what you're vividly imagining. It accepts as true whatever you consistently feed it. Right now, you're feeding it a steady diet of disaster, and it's giving you exactly what you're ordering. Think about this for a moment. When you worry, what are you really doing? You're using your imagination to create outcomes you don't want. You're rehearsing failure. You're practicing anxiety. And your subconscious mind, which is incredibly literal and obedient, says, oh, this is what we want. This is what we're focusing on. Let me help you create more of this. Within 3 months, she called me back. Her voice was different, lighter. She'd found a better job than the one she lost. Her daughter's health had improved dramatically. And here's what she said that I'll never forget. I didn't realize I was my own worst enemy. You see, most people are walking around defeating themselves before they even begin. They're like a general who spends all his time planning his own defeat, wondering why he keeps losing battles. Your mind is the most powerful weapon you possess, but if you don't learn to direct it, it will turn against you. I want you to understand something fundamental. Your feelings follow your thoughts like a shadow follows your body. You cannot have a feeling without first having a thought. And thoughts can be chosen. This is your power. This is your freedom. When you wake up tomorrow morning and that first wave of anxiety tries to crash over you, stop. Recognize it for what it is. Just a thought pattern, a habit, nothing more. You are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of your thoughts, and you can change them. Here's what I want you to do instead. Before your feet hit the floor, while you're still in that drowsy state between sleeping and waking, when your subconscious mind is most receptive, I want you to say, this is going to be a wonderful day. I am guided, protected, and inspired in all my ways. Don't analyze it. Don't argue with it. Don't let your conscious mind jump in with all its objections and doubts. Just accept it. Let it sink down, 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 into the subconscious. Now, here's what happens when you do this consistently. Your subconscious begins to reorganize your entire mental and emotional landscape. It starts to rearrange the furniture of your mind, so to speak. Old patterns of fear and limitation begin to dissolve. New patterns of confidence and expectation take their place. And this isn't wishful thinking. This is how the mind actually works. Think of it this way. Your subconscious is like rich, fertile soil. It doesn't care what you plant in it. You can plant weeds or you can plant roses. It will grow whatever you give it, with equal enthusiasm. It's completely impersonal. It has no favorites. It simply accepts the seeds you plant and brings them to harvest. So when you plant thoughts of protection, guidance, and divine support, that's what grows in your experience. You begin to notice opportunities you would have missed before. You make decisions with a new clarity. Doors open that seemed locked shut. People come into your life at exactly the right moment. Is this magic? No. It's the natural functioning of your own mind. You see, your subconscious is connected to what I call infinite intelligence. Some call it God, some call it the universe, some call it the source. The name doesn't matter. What matters is that there is an intelligence that knows how to grow a blade of grass, how to heal a cut on your finger without you consciously directing it, how to keep your heart beating while you sleep. This same intelligence responds to your habitual thinking. It moves through your subconscious mind and expresses itself in your life as circumstances, events, encounters, and conditions. When you impress your subconscious with thoughts of safety and protection, you activate this intelligence on your behalf. You align yourself with the protective, harmonizing forces of life itself. Let me give you a concrete example. I once knew a woman who was terrified of driving on highways. She'd been in a minor accident years before, and ever since, the fear had grown stronger. It was limiting her life significantly. She couldn't visit family. She couldn't take certain jobs. The fear had become a prison. I taught her this same principle. Every night before sleep she would quietly affirm, I am a confident, safe driver. Divine intelligence guides me on all roads. I am surrounded by God's love and protection. She didn't try to force herself onto the highway. She didn't argue with her fear. She simply planted new seeds in her subconscious mind. Within 3 weeks, something shifted. The fear began to lose its grip. She felt a new calm when she thought about driving. One day, almost without thinking about it, she merged onto the highway. and she felt at peace. Within a month, she was driving confidently again, not recklessly, not with the false bravado of someone pretending everything is fine, but with genuine peace. This is the power of working with your subconscious mind rather than against it. You don't need to be a hero. You don't need superhuman willpower. You need alignment. When your conscious desire and your subconscious belief are in harmony, action becomes effortless. You stop fighting yourself. You stop sabotaging your own progress. You move forward naturally, almost magnetically, toward what you want. Now, let me tell you something that might surprise you. The subconscious mind doesn't understand complex reasoning. It doesn't respond well to logical arguments or debates. It responds to feeling, repetition, and acceptance. This is why affirmations work, but only when done correctly. Most people repeat affirmations mechanically, without any emotional conviction. They say, "I am wealthy," while feeling broke. They say, "I am confident," while their stomach churns with anxiety. The subconscious mind isn't fooled by words alone. It responds to the feeling tone behind the words. It responds to conviction, to acceptance, to the quiet knowing that what you're declaring is true. Think of it this way. If I handed you a check for $1 million right now, you wouldn't need to convince yourself it's real. You wouldn't need to repeat, "I have $1 million. I have $1 million." You would simply know it. You would accept it. You would feel it as fact. That acceptance, that feeling of already having, is what impresses the subconscious mind. Not the desperate wanting, not the anxious hoping. The calm acceptance of something as already done. This is why Jesus taught, "Whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Not believe that you will receive it someday. Believe that you have received it. Present tense. Already done. This is why so many prayers go unanswered. You're begging. You're pleading. You're asking for something you don't believe you have. And the subconscious mind, it doesn't respond to begging. It responds to conviction. It responds to acceptance. When you pray, you must feel the reality of what you're asking for. You must feel it as though it's already yours. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now. Let me give you an example. Suppose you want financial abundance. Most people pray like this. "Please, God, give me money. I need money. I'm so broke. Please help me." What are they really doing? They're affirming lack. They're telling their subconscious mind, "I am broke. I am in need. I don't have enough." And the subconscious accepts that. It says, "All right, you're broke. You don't have enough." And it keeps creating more of the same. But here's how you pray with faith. You close your eyes. You relax. You enter into a quiet, receptive state. And then you really feel what it would be like to have financial abundance. You imagine checking your bank account and seeing a number that brings you peace. You feel the relief, the freedom, the gratitude. You don't beg for it. You don't ask for it. You accept it. You give thanks for it as though it's already yours. Thank you for my financial freedom. Thank you for the abundance that flows to me easily and constantly. I am prosperous. I am secure. I am grateful. You see the difference? One is asking. The other is accepting. One is filled with doubt. The other is filled with faith. And this is the secret that changes everything. When you pray with the feeling of already having what you desire, you impress that feeling onto your subconscious mind. And your subconscious doesn't know the difference between something imagined with feeling and something real. It accepts the feeling as fact. And then it goes to work to make it manifest in your external world. This is not magic. This is law. This is how your mind works. This is how creation works. So stop begging. Stop pleading. Stop looking at your life and saying, "I don't have this, I don't have that." Start accepting. Start believing. Start feeling the reality of your answered prayer right now, in this moment. Because you see, the moment you begin to feel the joy of having received what you desire, you are impressing your subconscious mind with the stamp of reality. Your subconscious doesn't argue with you. It doesn't debate. It simply accepts what you give it as true and begins to manifest that truth in your outer world. I've seen this work in the most remarkable ways. A woman once came to me, desperate for healing. She had been suffering from a chronic condition for years, and the doctors had done what they could, but she remained in pain. I told her, "Before you go to sleep tonight, I want you to feel yourself whole. Don't pray for healing. Feel yourself already healed. Enter into the feeling of perfect health." She looked at me skeptically, but she agreed to try. Every night for 30 days, before sleep, she would close her eyes and imagine her doctor examining her and saying, "I don't understand it. You're completely healed. There's no trace of the condition." She felt his hand shake. She felt her own joy and relief. She felt the gratitude flooding through her body. She made it real in her mind. Within weeks, something shifted. The pain began to diminish. Her energy returned. And when she went back to her doctor, he was astonished. The condition had reversed itself in ways he couldn't medically explain. But I could explain it. She had changed her inner conviction, and her body responded to that new belief. This is the law. This is how it works. Your feelings are the language of the subconscious. When you feel something deeply, when you accept it as true in your heart, your subconscious mind goes to work to make it manifest in your experience. So I ask you now, what are you feeling about your desire? Are you feeling the lack of it, the absence, the frustration of waiting, or are you feeling the joy of its fulfillment? Because whatever you're feeling, that's what you're creating. This is why so many people struggle with manifestation. They say the words, they write the affirmations, they make the vision boards, but inside, they're vibrating at the frequency of lack. They're checking their bank account every hour, feeling the anxiety rise when the number hasn't changed. They're obsessing over why it hasn't happened yet, telling themselves stories about why they're not good enough, why it never works for them, why they're the exception to the law. And all of that, every single worried thought, every moment of doubt is an instruction to your subconscious mind. It's a command. And your subconscious doesn't argue. It doesn't say, "But wait, you said you wanted abundance." It simply responds to the feeling you're giving it most consistently. So here's what I want you to understand, deeply and completely. You cannot think one thing and feel another and expect results. You cannot affirm wealth while feeling poor. You cannot declare health while identifying with illness. You cannot claim love while feeling unworthy of it. The subconscious mind responds to feeling. It responds to conviction. It responds to the emotional tone of your consciousness. This is why belief is so crucial. This is why faith is the very foundation of manifestation, not blind faith, not wishful thinking, but the deep, inner knowing that what you've claimed in consciousness must, by law, materialize in form. Think of it this way. When you plant a seed in the ground, you don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You don't stand over it with worry, wondering if you did it wrong. You trust the process. You trust the soil, the water, the sun, the intelligence of nature itself. You know that underneath the surface, something is happening. The seed is responding to the conditions you've created. Your desire is the same. Once you've planted it in your subconscious mind with feeling, with acceptance, with the joy of its completion, you must leave it alone. You must know that beneath the surface of your awareness, the creative forces of your mind are already at work, orchestrating circumstances, arranging events, drawing to you everything necessary for its fulfillment. This doesn't mean you sit idle, waiting passively for your desire to materialize out of thin air. No, that would be a complete misunderstanding of how this process works. You continue to move forward in your daily life. You continue to take action. But here's the crucial difference. Your actions now flow from a place of inner certainty rather than desperate striving. You're no longer pushing against a wall of resistance. You're being pulled forward by the magnetic force of your subconscious conviction. Think of it this way. When you're truly convinced of something deep in your subconscious mind, you don't have to force yourself to act. The right actions arise naturally, effortlessly. A person who knows they're healthy doesn't have to convince themselves to take care of their body, it becomes automatic. A person who knows they're successful doesn't have to force themselves to pursue opportunities, they recognize and respond to them instinctively. This is why I emphasize the feeling of the wish fulfilled so strongly, because when you truly feel it as real, when you've impressed it upon your subconscious mind as an accomplished fact, everything changes. Your thoughts change. Your words change. Your habitual reactions change. And most importantly, your actions align with your new inner conviction. Now, let me address a question that arises in many minds at this point. People ask me, "Dr. Murphy, how long does it take? When will I see results?" And I understand this question. We live in an impatient age. We want everything immediately. But the timing of manifestation depends on several factors, and understanding these factors will help you immensely. First, It depends on the depth of your conviction. A weak, half-hearted acceptance produces weak, delayed results. A deep, emotionally charged conviction produces powerful, swift results. This is why I tell you to repeat your mental practice until you feel it real, until you experience that inner satisfaction, that quiet, knowing that it is done. Second, it depends on the conflict between your conscious desire and your subconscious beliefs. If your conscious mind wants prosperity but your subconscious is saturated with beliefs about lack and limitation, you've created an internal war. The subconscious always wins this war, because it's far more powerful than your conscious willpower. And third, the time factor depends on the emotional intensity you bring to your mental practice. A prayer whispered with doubt is not the same as a declaration made with absolute conviction. A visualization performed mechanically while your mind wanders is not the same as one that moves you to tears of gratitude because it feels so real. I've seen people transform their entire lives in 30 days through devoted, emotionally charged mental practice. I've also seen people repeat affirmations for years with no result because they were merely reciting words without feeling, without belief, without that deep inner knowing that what they're claiming is already theirs in the invisible realm of mind. Think of it this way. If you're trying to heat a pot of water, you can apply a small flame that keeps the water lukewarm indefinitely, or you can apply intense heat that brings it to a boil in minutes. The subconscious responds to heat, to emotional intensity, to feeling, to conviction. Now, let me address something that troubles many people who are just discovering these principles. They ask, if the subconscious is so powerful, why do I have problems at all? Why isn't my life already perfect? The answer is simple but profound. Your subconscious is already working perfectly. It's giving you exact results based on the beliefs, assumptions, and mental images you've been feeding it, most of which you've been doing unconsciously since childhood. You see, most people are not consciously choosing their thoughts and beliefs. They're running on autopilot, replaying old mental tapes that were recorded when they were 5, 10, 15 years old. They absorbed beliefs from parents, teachers, religious institutions, society, media, and traumatic experiences. These beliefs became embedded in the subconscious, and now they're manifesting automatically. The drunkard didn't consciously decide, I want to destroy my life with alcohol. Somewhere in his subconscious, he accepted a belief perhaps that he's inadequate, unworthy, or incapable of facing life's challenges without chemical support. The subconscious, being impersonal and mechanical, simply carried out that belief to its logical conclusion. The person struggling with poverty didn't wake up and consciously choose lack, but examine their inner dialogue, and you'll find a poverty consciousness beliefs about money being scarce, rich people being corrupt, themselves being undeserving, or the world being a place where people like us never get ahead. These aren't abstract thoughts floating harmlessly in the mind. They're creative instructions being fed into the most powerful manufacturing system in existence. And the subconscious, loyal servant that it is, sets about making those beliefs your reality. It arranges circumstances, attracts corresponding conditions, and influences your decisions in ways that validate what you've been affirming to yourself all along. I want you to see this clearly. Your habitual thinking creates a mental atmosphere. If that atmosphere is charged with fear, limitation, and expectation of failure, then your subconscious works tirelessly to bring experiences that match that frequency. It's not punishment. It's not bad luck. It's law as dependable as gravity. Now here's where this gets truly fascinating, and perhaps uncomfortable for some of you. Most people are completely unaware of the beliefs they're actually holding. They'll swear up and down that they want success, health, and happiness. And consciously, they do. But beneath the surface, in that vast reservoir of the subconscious, contradictory beliefs are running the show. A person might consciously desire a loving relationship while subconsciously believing they're unlovable. They might want financial abundance while harboring deep-seated guilt about money or resentment toward those who have it. They might pursue health while maintaining an identity built around their illness, having received sympathy and attention because of it for years. This internal contradiction is the source of most human frustration. We wonder why our efforts seem to be met with invisible resistance. We work hard, we try, we push, and yet the results don't come, or they come and then slip away. The reason is simple. You cannot outwork your own beliefs. You cannot hustle your way past what your subconscious accepts as true about you. The conscious mind is the captain, yes, but the subconscious is the ship, the crew, and the ocean itself. If the captain shouts orders that contradict the ship's programming, nothing happens, or worse. You move in the opposite direction while exhausting yourself in the effort. This is why so many people feel stuck in patterns they consciously despise. The man who swears he wants financial freedom but constantly sabotages opportunities, he's not lazy or foolish. His subconscious mind holds a different script. Perhaps as a child he heard, "Money doesn't grow on trees," or "Rich people are greedy," and these impressions calcified into beliefs. Now his subconscious rejects wealth not because wealth is bad, but because accepting it would create internal contradiction. The subconscious always chooses consistency over happiness. The woman who says she wants love but finds herself attracted only to emotionally unavailable partners, she's not broken. Her subconscious learned early that love equals pain, or that she must earn affection through suffering. So she unconsciously selects partners who confirm this belief, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy that feels like fate but is actually programming. You see, the subconscious mind doesn't argue. It doesn't evaluate whether a belief serves you. It simply executes. Give it a command, and it will move heaven and earth to make that command your reality, even if that command is "I don't deserve good things" or "I always fail." This is both terrifying and liberating. Terrifying because it means you've been creating your limitations. Liberating because it means you can uncreate them just as easily if you learn the language the subconscious speaks. And here's what most people miss. The subconscious doesn't understand negatives. It doesn't process don't or not. If you say, "I don't want to be poor," your subconscious hears poor and focuses on poverty. If you think, "I hope I don't fail this interview," your subconscious receives an image of failure and begins preparing for it. This is why positive affirmations often feel hollow. You stand in front of a mirror repeating, "I am confident," while your subconscious, holding years of contrary evidence, simply ignores you. The words bounce off like rain on stone. You're speaking a language it doesn't recognize, the language of wishful conscious thought rather than subconscious conviction. The subconscious only accepts images, feelings, and repetition delivered in a state of relaxed receptivity, not force, not desperation, gentle, consistent, emotionally charged impressions. Think of it this way. Your subconscious mind is like a garden. You can plant seeds of wealth, health, and happiness, or you can allow the weeds of fear, doubt, and limitation to take root. The choice is yours, but here's what most people don't realize. You're planting seeds constantly, whether you're aware of it or not. Every thought is a seed. Every feeling waters that seed. Every mental image you hold fertilizes the soil. So when you worry about bills, you're planting poverty. When you fear illness, you're planting disease. When you expect failure, you're cultivating disappointment. Your subconscious doesn't judge these seeds as good or bad, it simply grows whatever you plant most consistently. This is why conscious awareness is so crucial. You must become the gardener of your mind, deliberately choosing which seeds to plant and which weeds to pull. And here's the beautiful part. Once you understand this principle, you realize that changing your life doesn't require changing the world around you. It requires changing the world within you. I've seen people transform their financial situations not by working harder, but by working on their consciousness. They stopped dwelling on debt and started affirming abundance. They stopped resenting the wealthy and started blessing them, knowing that what you bless multiplies in your own life. They stopped saying, "I can't afford it," and started asking, "How can I afford it?" That shift from closed to open, from lack to possibility, that's what opens the channels of prosperity. Let me give you a specific technique I've taught thousands of people. Before you fall asleep at night, when your conscious mind is naturally quieting down and your subconscious is most receptive, imagine yourself living the life you desire. Don't just think about it, experience it in your imagination with all your senses. If you want financial freedom, feel the relief of having abundant resources. See your bank statement reflecting prosperity. Hear yourself saying, "I am so grateful for my overflowing wealth." Touch the objects you desire to own. Make it real in your mind, because to your subconscious mind, imagination and reality are indistinguishable. Your subconscious accepts what you consistently impress upon it. It doesn't argue. It doesn't say, "But you're broke right now." It simply accepts the dominant impression and begins working to make it manifest in your physical reality. Think of it like this. If you plant a seed in the ground, you don't dig it up every hour to check if it's growing. You don't stand over it and say, "I don't see any growth yet, so this must not be working." No. You water it, you give it sunlight, and you trust the natural process. Your subconscious mind works the same way. When you impress upon your subconscious mind the idea of wealth, health, or success, you must leave it alone to do its work. You must trust the process. The moment you start doubting, the moment you start saying, well, I've been affirming for 3 days and nothing's happened, you're uprooting the seed. You're impressing doubt and impatience upon your subconscious, and now it goes to work on that instead. This is why persistence is so crucial. Not the kind of persistence where you're straining and forcing, but the relaxed persistence of knowing. The kind where you return to your affirmation gently, consistently, like breathing. Morning and night, you impress the desired state upon your subconscious. You feel it. You accept it as true. And then you let it go about its business. Now here's something that trips people up constantly. They try to figure out the how. They say, okay, I want financial abundance, but how times is it going to come? Should I play the lottery? Should I start a business? Should I ask my boss for a raise? And they exhaust themselves trying to plot the course. Listen carefully. The how is none of your business. Your job is to define the end result, to feel it as real, to impress it upon your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind has access to infinite intelligence. It knows paths and possibilities you cannot conceive of with your conscious, limited reasoning. It will orchestrate events, ideas, meetings, and opportunities that your rational mind could never plan. I've seen this happen countless times. A woman affirms for the right employment. She doesn't know how or where it will come. Then she bumps into an old friend at the grocery store who mentions a position. A man affirms for healing, and suddenly hears about a doctor he'd never considered. The how unfolds naturally when you impress the what deeply enough. Your task is singular. Define your desire, feel it as already accomplished, and impress that feeling consistently upon your subconscious mind. Everything else is handled by the infinite intelligence within you. The subconscious mind is completely impersonal. It does not judge whether your thoughts are good or bad, beneficial or destructive. It simply accepts what you habitually impress upon it and works to bring that impression into physical reality. This is why you must become the guardian of your mental household. Think of your subconscious as the most fertile soil imaginable. It will grow whatever seeds you plant, beautiful flowers or poisonous weeds. It makes no distinction. The law is impersonal, automatic, and utterly reliable. When you plant an acorn, you get an oak tree, not a rose bush. When you plant thoughts of abundance, health, and success, you harvest those conditions. When you plant worry, fear, and limitation, those manifest just as faithfully. I've witnessed countless individuals sabotage themselves through this mechanism. They consciously desire prosperity while unconsciously harboring beliefs about money being scarce, difficult to obtain, or spiritually corrupting. The subconscious, receiving these conflicting signals, produces confusion and stagnation. The conscious desire is like a sail catching wind, but the unconscious belief is an anchor dragging along the ocean floor. Movement becomes nearly impossible. This is why affirmations alone often fail. You cannot simply repeat words mechanically and expect transformation. If you say, I am wealthy while feeling poor, doubting the statement, or resenting those who have money, you're impressing poverty consciousness more deeply than wealth consciousness. The feeling is what penetrates. The emotion is what registers in the subconscious depths. Your task is to harmonize your conscious desires with your subconscious beliefs. This requires examining what you truly believe beneath your surface wishes. When you think about having more money, what feelings arise? Excitement and naturalness, or anxiety and unworthiness? When you imagine perfect health, does it feel like your birthright, or does it seem impossible given your history? These emotional reactions reveal your actual subconscious programming. The magnificent truth is that you can reprogram your subconscious mind at any moment. You are not bound by past conditioning, ancestral patterns, or childhood experiences. The subconscious is perpetually impressionable, always ready to accept new patterns, provided you present them with feeling, repetition, and conviction. The method for this reprogramming is beautifully simple, yet profoundly effective. You begin by constructing a clear, definite mental image of what you desire. See yourself already in possession of your goal. If you seek health, picture yourself vibrant, energetic, moving with ease and grace. If you desire prosperity, see yourself living abundantly, experiencing financial freedom, making decisions from a place of wealth rather than scarcity. The image must be specific, vivid, and emotionally charged. Your subconscious mind responds not to vague wishes but to clear instructions delivered with conviction. When you say, "I want to be successful," your subconscious receives no clear blueprint. Success means different things to different people, but when you say with feeling, "I am a confident, capable professional who makes valuable contributions and is abundantly compensated," you provide a precise pattern for your subconscious to accept and manifest. The time you choose for this mental work matters tremendously. The moments just before sleep and immediately upon waking are golden opportunities. In these twilight states, the barrier between your conscious and subconscious mind becomes thin and permeable. Your critical, analytical faculty relaxes its guard. This is when your affirmations, your visualizations, your new patterns can slip past the watchman and plant themselves deep in the fertile soil of your subconscious. I have seen remarkable transformations occur when people grasp this truth and apply it consistently. A woman who suffered from crippling anxiety began affirming each night, "I am deeply peaceful, calm, and secure. Divine intelligence guides me, and all is well." Within weeks, her anxiety diminished. Within months, it had virtually disappeared. Her outer circumstances had not changed dramatically, but her inner response to life had been completely transformed. A businessman on the verge of bankruptcy began to mentally picture his business thriving, his accounts full, his services in demand. He felt the relief, the joy, the gratitude as if it were already accomplished. He persisted in this mental practice despite external evidence to the contrary. Slowly, opportunities appeared, new clients emerged, creative solutions presented themselves. Within a year, his business had not only recovered but exceeded his previous success. These are not miracles in the supernatural sense. They are the natural consequences of aligning your subconscious mind with your conscious desires. The question then becomes, how do we consistently apply this principle in our daily lives? How do we move from occasional success to sustained transformation? The answer lies in understanding that your subconscious mind operates on repetition and emotion. It doesn't respond to what you casually wish for. It responds to what you deeply feel and repeatedly impress upon it. Think of your subconscious as soil. You wouldn't plant a seed once and then dig it up every day to see if it's growing. You plant it, water it consistently, and trust the natural process. The same applies to your mental seeds, your thoughts and beliefs. I want you to consider your current habitual thinking. What thoughts do you repeat to yourself throughout the day? Are they thoughts of abundance or lack, of health or illness, of success or failure? Because whatever you habitually think about, your subconscious accepts as instruction. Many people sabotage themselves without realizing it. They might affirm prosperity in the morning, but spend the rest of their day complaining about bills, criticizing their circumstances, and expecting failure. This creates confusion in the subconscious. It's like pressing the accelerator and brake simultaneously, you go nowhere. Consistency is not about perfection, it's about predominance. What is the dominant mental attitude you maintain? That is what will manifest in your life. I've seen people transform chronic illness through this understanding. One woman suffered from severe arthritis for years. She began to systematically replace her habitual thoughts of pain and limitation with images of herself moving freely and joyfully. She felt the feeling of health before the physical evidence appeared. Every night before sleep, she would imagine herself dancing, gardening, playing with her grandchildren, all the activities her condition had prevented. She didn't deny her current reality. She simply refused to give it permanence in her mind. Within months, her symptoms began to diminish. Within a year, she was doing everything she had visualized. This is the power you possess. But it requires discipline, not the harsh discipline of forcing yourself, but the gentle discipline of redirecting your attention consistently toward what you desire rather than what you fear. Your subconscious doesn't judge. It doesn't say, "This is good" or "This is bad." It simply accepts what you impress upon it and works to make it real. This is why people who constantly worry about illness often become ill. This is why those who fear poverty often struggle financially. This is why those who expect rejection in relationships often find themselves alone, not because the universe is punishing them, but because their subconscious mind is faithfully reproducing the patterns they've impressed upon it. I've counseled thousands of people over the years, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that the majority of human suffering is self-inflicted through ignorant use of the creative power within. We worry ourselves into disease, we fear ourselves into poverty, we imagine ourselves into failure. And we do it all, unconsciously, never realizing we hold the key to our own freedom. But here's the beautiful truth that changes everything. The same mechanism that creates your problems can create your solutions. The same power that manifests your fears can manifest your dreams. The same subconscious that has been working against you can begin working for you starting right now, in this very moment. You don't need to undo years of negative programming all at once. You don't need to achieve perfect positive thinking before results begin to appear. You simply need to begin turning your attention in a new direction. You need to start feeding your subconscious mind the images, feelings, and beliefs that align with what you truly want to experience. Think of it like turning a large ship. You don't make a dramatic, sudden turn. You adjust the rudder slightly, and over time, the entire vessel changes course. Your life is that ship. Your conscious thoughts are the rudder, and patience combined with persistence will take you to any destination you choose. Now, let me address something that troubles many people when they first encounter these ideas. They say, "But Joseph, I've tried positive thinking. I've tried affirmations. I've visualized and hoped and wished, and nothing changed. How can you tell me my thoughts create my reality when I've seen no evidence of it?" This is a fair question, and it deserves an honest answer. The reason most people fail with these techniques isn't because the principles don't work, it's because they apply them superficially without understanding the mechanics underneath. And by mechanics, I don't mean something cold or technical. I mean the way your subconscious mind actually processes belief versus wishful thinking. When most people say they've tried visualization, what they've really done is indulge in fantasy. They've daydreamed about the outcome. They want a new house, a healed body, a reconciled relationship, but underneath that daydream, their deeper mind was whispering something else entirely. It was saying, "This will never happen for me. I'm just pretending. This is nice to think about, but it's not real." And that whisper? That's the voice your subconscious hears loudest. You see, your subconscious mind doesn't respond to the pictures you flash in front of it for 5 minutes a day. It responds to the dominant emotional tone you carry throughout your waking hours. It responds to what you truly believe, not what you hope to believe, not what you wish were true, but what you accept as fact in the deepest part of your being. This is why I've always said, it's not enough to visualize. You must feel the reality of what you're visualizing. You must assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, as though it's already done, already yours, already accomplished. Most people skip this step. They imagine the thing, but they don't embody the state. They picture themselves in a new home, but they still feel like someone who can't afford it. They visualize perfect health, but they still identify as sick. They see themselves successful, but they carry the emotional signature of failure. And the subconscious? It's not fooled. It knows exactly what you really believe. So the question isn't whether the law works. The question is, are you actually using it, or are you just hoping it will work without giving it the fuel it requires? Let me give you an example. I once worked with a woman who came to me in despair. She had been trying for 2 years to conceive a child. She'd visualized, she'd prayed, she'd done everything she thought she was supposed to do, and still, nothing. When I asked her to describe her visualization practice, she said, "I imagine holding my baby. I picture the nursery. I see myself as a mother." "And how do you feel when you do this?" I asked. She paused. Then quietly, "Sad, because I don't have it yet." There it was, the block. She wasn't feeling the wish fulfilled, she was feeling the absence of it. I explained to her that this is the most common mistake people make. They try to use the law while simultaneously contradicting it. They affirm abundance while feeling lack. They visualize success while believing in failure. They say yes with their lips and no with their hearts. The subconscious mind doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you feel. It responds to the state you occupy. And if the dominant feeling is, "I don't have it," then that's exactly what your subconscious will create more evidence of not having it. I told her to stop asking for the money. Stop treating it as something outside of herself that she needed to acquire. Instead, she needed to live from the end. She needed to feel grateful for financial freedom, even before a single dollar showed up. She needed to move through her day with the quiet confidence of someone who knew, not hoped, not wished, but knew that all her needs were met. Within 2 weeks, she called me. Her voice was different. Lighter. She'd received an unexpected refund from an old insurance policy she'd forgotten about. Then a former client reached out and paid an invoice from 6 months prior that she'd written off. Then she was offered a part-time consulting role that paid more than her previous full-time job. It all happened so fast, she said. But the strangest part is, I wasn't even surprised when it came. It felt natural, like it was always going to happen. That's the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It's not excitement. It's not relief. It's a calm, unshakable knowing. It's the feeling you have right now about something you already possess. You don't get excited about the fact that you have hands. You don't feel relieved that you have a heartbeat. You simply know these things are true. When you can bring that same quality of knowing to your desire, the universe has no choice but to reflect it back to you. Because you're no longer asking. You're no longer begging. You're simply being the person who already has it. And here's what most people don't realize. The subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between a real experience and one that is vividly imagined with feeling. This is not metaphor. This is neuroscience. This is how your brain works. When you imagine something with emotional intensity, your subconscious accepts it as fact. It begins to rearrange your outer world to match the inner picture you've impressed upon it. This isn't theory. This is proven in countless lives every single day. I've watched people transform terminal diagnoses into clean bills of health. I've seen individuals buried in debt become prosperous beyond their wildest expectations. I've witnessed broken relationships restored, careers resurrected from ashes, and miracles that defy logical explanation. And every single case began the same way, with a shift in inner conviction. You see, most people approach their problems from the outside in. They try to change circumstances, manipulate conditions, force outcomes through sheer willpower. They exhaust themselves fighting against the current of their own consciousness. But you cannot permanently change what shows up in your life by battling the external. The outer world is merely the shadow. You must change the substance that casts it. This is where people fail. They affirm abundance while feeling poor. They visualize health while believing in their sickness. They pray for love while nursing resentment. The conscious mind speaks one thing, but the subconscious holds another. And the subconscious always wins, because it controls the mechanism of manifestation. Your feelings reveal your true beliefs, not your words, not your hopes, not your wishes, your feelings. If you're anxious about money, you believe in lack, regardless of what affirmations you recite. If you're worried about your health, you believe in disease. No matter how many times you visualize wellness, the emotional tone is the truth teller. So how do you change what you genuinely feel? How do you reprogram beliefs that have been etched into your subconscious for decades? You use the same tool that installed them in the first place, repetition and emotion-laden imagery, but now you do it consciously, deliberately, with full awareness of the power you're wielding. Let me give you a technique that has transformed millions of lives. It's profoundly simple, yet devastatingly effective. I call it the state akin to sleep technique, and it's based on a fundamental principle of mind. Your subconscious is most receptive to suggestion in the drowsy state between waking and sleeping. Here's what you do. Tonight, before you drift off to sleep, you're going to construct a short scene, a single event that would naturally occur times after times. Your desire has been fulfilled. Not the desire itself, but something that implies its completion. For instance, if you're seeking financial abundance, don't visualize yourself counting money. That's still rooted in the desire. Instead, imagine yourself casually signing a check for a charitable cause you care about, feeling the quiet satisfaction of being able to give generously. Or picture yourself discussing with a financial advisor how to best manage your assets. The scene is short, simple, and implies the end result. If you're seeking a restored relationship, don't replay the reconciliation conversation. That still carries tension. Instead, imagine hearing your loved one's laughter across the dinner table, sharing an inside joke that only the two of you understand. Feel the warmth of that connection, the ease of being together again. The beauty of this technique is its simplicity. You're not wrestling with a complicated visualization. You're not trying to force your mind to concentrate for extended periods. You're simply replaying one small, natural moment, something that would happen if your wish were already fulfilled. Now, as you lie in bed, relaxed and drowsy, you begin to loop this scene gently in your imagination. You see it, you feel it, you hear it, you don't strain, you don't analyze. You simply experience it as if it's happening right now. And here's the crucial part. You fall asleep while experiencing this scene. You let it be the last impression on your mind as you drift into unconsciousness. This is when your conscious mind releases its grip, and your subconscious mind, the part of you that actually creates your reality, accepts the impression without resistance. Your subconscious doesn't argue. It doesn't say, "But that's not true right now." It simply accepts what you've impressed upon it and begins to orchestrate the circumstances, events, and meetings necessary to make it your objective reality. I cannot overstate the power of this. You are literally planting seeds in the most fertile soil imaginable, your subconscious mind, as it transitions into sleep. This is not wishful thinking. This is scientific prayer. This is deliberate creation. Now, let me take you deeper into what happens when you truly understand this law. When you plant a seed in the ground, you don't dig it up every day to see if it's growing. You don't stand over it with anxiety, wondering if the process is working. You trust the law of growth. You trust that within that seed is the intelligence to become what it was designed to become. The same principle applies to your mental seed. Once you've planted your desire in your subconscious mind through feeling, through acceptance, through the knowing that it is already done, you must leave it alone. You must allow the creative forces within you to work without interference. This is where most people stumble. They pray, they affirm, they visualize, and then, 5 minutes later, they're back to worrying, back to doubting, back to checking the circumstances to see if anything has changed yet. This is like planting a seed and then pouring cement over the soil. You must learn the art of spiritual surrender. This doesn't mean giving up. It means giving over. It means releasing your desire to the higher intelligence within you and trusting completely that it is being brought to pass. I have watched people transform their entire lives by mastering this one principle. A woman came to me years ago, desperate about her financial situation. She had tried everything. She had affirmed, visualized, prayed, but nothing seemed to work. When I asked her what she did after she prayed, she said, "I worry about how the bills will get paid." There was the problem. She was praying with one breath and denying with the next. She was building up with faith and tearing down with fear. Her subconscious mind was receiving mixed signals, and so it could produce no clear result. I taught her to pray differently, to impress her subconscious mind with the feeling of financial freedom, and then to release it completely, to go about her day with quiet confidence, knowing that her good was on its way. Within 3 weeks, she received an unexpected inheritance from a distant relative. Within 2 months, she was offered a position that doubled her income. Did the universe suddenly decide to be kind to her? No. She aligned herself with the law. She stopped blocking her own good with fear and doubt. She allowed the infinite intelligence within her to work on her behalf. And that's the crucial lesson here. You don't have to force anything. You don't have to manipulate circumstances. You don't have to push and strain and exhaust yourself trying to make things happen through sheer willpower alone. Your job is alignment. Your job is to believe. Your job is to feel the truth of what you're claiming before it manifests in your physical reality. When you do this, when you truly embody this understanding, the entire universe conspires to bring your desire into form. Doors open that you didn't even know existed. Opportunities appear out of nowhere. People show up at exactly the right time with exactly the right resources. This isn't magic. This isn't luck. This is law. It's the law of mind, the law of belief, the law of assumption, and it operates with absolute precision, whether you're aware of it or not. Think about the great inventors and innovators throughout history. They didn't create something from nothing. They tapped into an idea that already existed in the invisible realm of mind. They held that vision with such clarity and conviction that it eventually materialized in the physical world. Thomas Edison didn't invent the light bulb through struggle alone. Yes, he had many experiments that didn't work. But what kept him going? His unwavering belief that the solution already existed, and that he would find it. He was aligned with the creative power of his subconscious mind. The Wright brothers didn't create flight by doubting whether it was possible. They held the vision, they believed, they persisted in that belief despite ridicule and setbacks, and eventually, Their inner conviction became outer reality. This same power is within you right now. The same creative force that has brought forth every invention, every masterpiece, every breakthrough in human history is dwelling within your subconscious mind at this very moment. You don't need to acquire it. You don't need to earn it. You don't need to become worthy of it. You already have it. You've always had it. It's been there since the day you were born, waiting for you to recognize it and use it deliberately. And here's what I need you to understand about this power. It doesn't judge your desires. It doesn't ask whether you deserve them or whether they're reasonable or modest enough. Your subconscious mind accepts whatever you impress upon it with feeling and conviction. It's completely neutral, like the soil that grows both flowers and weeds depending on what seeds you plant. This is why you must become the guardian of your own consciousness. You wouldn't let just anyone walk into your garden and plant whatever they wanted, would you? Yet so many of you allow random thoughts, other people's opinions, news headlines, and casual conversations to plant seeds in your mental garden without any discrimination whatsoever. Every time you accept a limiting belief, every time you say I can't afford that, or people like me don't achieve that, or I'm too old, too young, too inexperienced, you're planting seeds. And your faithful subconscious mind, which never sleeps and never questions, begins cultivating those seeds into your lived reality. But here's the beautiful paradox. The same mechanism that has been working against you can work for you with equal power. The moment you begin deliberately choosing what you plant, everything changes. Not someday. Not when circumstances improve. Right now, in this very moment. You see, most people are waiting for evidence before they believe. They want to see the money before they feel wealthy. They want to meet their partner before they feel loved. They want the promotion before they feel successful. But this is backwards. This is trying to gather fruit before you've planted the seed. The spiritual law works in reverse order. First comes the feeling, the mental acceptance, the inner conviction. Then comes the outer manifestation. You must feel wealthy in consciousness before wealth can appear in your bank account. You must feel healthy in your imagination before health can manifest in your body. You must claim your good mentally and emotionally before it can take form in your experience. This isn't positive thinking or wishful fantasy. This is scientific prayer, working with the creative law of mind. You're not pretending reality doesn't exist. You're creating new reality from the inside out. And here's what's fascinating. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. At first, disciplining your thoughts might feel awkward, like learning to write with your opposite hand. You'll catch yourself slipping back into old patterns, rehearsing problems, dwelling on limitations. That's normal. That's human. Don't condemn yourself for it. Instead, gently redirect. The moment you notice you've been mentally replaying yesterday's argument or tomorrow's feared outcome, stop, take a breath, and deliberately turn your attention to what you want to experience instead. This isn't suppression, it's conscious selection. You're not pushing away negative thoughts with force, you're replacing them with better ones through choice. I've seen people transform their entire lives by mastering this one skill. A woman once told me she'd spent 30 years expecting rejection. Every job interview, every social gathering, every new relationship she walked in already mentally prepared for disappointment. Her subconscious mind, obedient as always, arranged circumstances to match her expectations. Then she learned this principle. She began spending 10 minutes each morning in her imagination. Experiencing the feeling of being welcomed, valued, appreciated, she rehearsed success instead of failure. Within months, her whole social reality shifted. Same woman, same world, but an entirely different experience of life. This is the power that's been sleeping within you all along. Your imagination isn't just daydreaming. It's the workshop where tomorrow is being built right now. Every time you imagine something vividly and feel it as real, you're impressing that pattern upon the creative medium of your subconscious mind. And that subconscious mind has access to infinite intelligence. It knows how to bring your assumptions into physical manifestation through natural, logical channels. You don't need to figure out the how. That's not your job. Your job is to remain faithful to the end result, to persist in the assumption that it's already done. The subconscious mind will handle the details, orchestrating circumstances, attracting opportunities, guiding you through intuitive prompts you might not even consciously recognize. Trust this process. It's the same process that beats your heart without your conscious effort, that heals cuts on your skin while you sleep, that digests your food and regulates your breathing. There's an intelligence within you that far surpasses your conscious reasoning. Learn to cooperate with it through imagination and feeling, and you'll witness what others call miracles, but which are simply natural law in operation. Now, I want you to understand something profound about the nature of this law. It operates on belief, not on what you consciously wish or hope for, but on what you actually accept as true in your deeper mind. This is why I've seen people pray for prosperity while inwardly believing they don't deserve it, and their circumstances never change. They're working against themselves. Your subconscious doesn't argue with you. It doesn't say, well, that's not logical, or you don't deserve that. It simply accepts what you impress upon it and begins to express it in your world. If you constantly tell yourself, I'm always unlucky, your subconscious accepts this as an instruction and proceeds to create experiences that confirm it. You'll miss opportunities, overlook advantages, and find yourself in unfortunate situations not because fate is against you, but because you've programmed yourself for that outcome. I remember counseling a young woman who came to me desperate for a relationship. She'd been alone for years and couldn't understand why. As we talked, the truth emerged in her own words. All the good men are taken, she'd say. Men always leave me. I'm not pretty enough to attract quality partners. Every statement was a decree to her subconscious mind. She was essentially ordering her deeper mind to create experiences of rejection and loneliness, and it was faithfully fulfilling those orders. I taught her to reverse this process. Instead of dwelling on past disappointments, she began to imagine herself in a loving relationship, not with desperation or longing, but with the feeling of already having what she desired. Each night before sleep, she'd enter a drowsy, relaxed state and imagine a man treating her with kindness and respect. She'd feel his presence, hear words of affection, sense the warmth of being genuinely loved. She impressed these feelings repeatedly upon her subconscious. Within 3 months, she met someone who matched what she'd been imagining. But here's what's crucial: she didn't meet him through any unusual circumstance. She met him at her workplace, where he'd actually been for over a year. She'd walked past him countless times but had never really noticed him. What changed wasn't the external world, what changed was her internal state. When she began to feel worthy of love, her awareness opened to possibilities that had been there all along. This principle works in every area of your life. When you change your inner conviction about money, opportunities for income appear where you once saw only closed doors. When you shift your consciousness about health, you become aware of healing methods and practitioners that were invisible to you before. The outer world hasn't changed, you have. Your subconscious mind is the broadcaster of your inner state. It sends out a frequency, and the world responds in kind. When you feel poor, you notice every price tag, every bill, every expense. Your attention magnetizes to lack. When you feel abundant, you notice opportunities, resources, connections, the same street, the same world, but an entirely different experience. This is why affirmations alone often fail. You can say, I am wealthy 1,000 times, but if beneath those words your heart is saying, I'm broke, your subconscious will follow the feeling, not the words. The subconscious doesn't understand English or any spoken language. It understands emotion, belief, conviction. What you must do is impress the feeling of the wish fulfilled upon your subconscious. Feel it as already done, not as something coming in the future, but as an accomplished fact now. When you pray for something, you must feel the relief, the joy, the satisfaction of already having received it. This feeling state is the language your subconscious speaks fluently. Let me give you something practical you can do tonight. Before sleep, when your conscious mind is naturally subdued, enter into a drowsy, sleepy state. In this state, your subconscious is most impressionable. Now imagine a scene that would naturally occur after your desire is fulfilled. Don't imagine the process of getting it, imagine the result. If you desire a new home, don't visualize house hunting or signing papers. Visualize yourself in that home, touching the walls, feeling the texture of the furniture, hearing your footsteps on the floor. Make it sensory. Make it real. And most importantly, feel the naturalness of it, the feeling that this is your home, where you belong. Repeat this scene night after night. Loop it in your imagination until it feels more real than your current circumstances. Your subconscious cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you impress it deeply enough, it will move heaven and earth to make the outer match the inner. Now, let me address a question that troubles many sincere seekers. Dr. Murphy, what if I've been visualizing for weeks and nothing has changed? What if I'm doing everything right but my circumstances remain the same? First, understand this. The lag between mental seed and physical harvest is not evidence of failure, it is evidence of law. When a farmer plants corn, he doesn't dig up the seed after 3 days to check if it's growing. He knows there is an invisible process happening beneath the surface. The same principle governs your mental seeds. Every thought you think, every feeling you feel, is going down into your subconscious mind like a seed into soil. But you must give it time to gestate, to gather force, to organize the circumstances and conditions necessary for its manifestation. Impatience is the gardener who destroys his crop by constantly digging it up to see if it's growing. Second, examine the consistency of your mental diet. You cannot affirm abundance for 5 minutes in the morning and then spend the next 16 hours dwelling on lack, limitation, and fear. That is like planting seeds with one hand and pulling them up with the other. Your dominant mental attitude determines your results, not your occasional hopeful thoughts. The subconscious mind responds to your habitual thinking, to the thoughts you return to again and again, to the emotional tone that colors your entire day. If you want to change your life, you must change your dominant thoughts. And this requires vigilance, discipline, and honest self-examination. I once counseled a woman who complained bitterly that her affirmations weren't working. She had been affirming prosperity for months with no visible result. When I questioned her carefully, I discovered that immediately after her morning affirmations, she would anxiously check her bank account, worry about her bills, and complain to her friends about how broke she was. She was affirming abundance for 5 minutes and denying it for the rest of the day. Your subconscious doesn't respond to your words alone. It responds to the feeling behind the words, to the conviction, to the sustained emotional acceptance of your desire as already fulfilled. You must become intellectually and emotionally convinced of the truth of your affirmation before your subconscious will accept it and bring it to pass. Think of a musician learning a new piece. At first, they read the notes mechanically. Their fingers move awkwardly across the instrument. The music is technically correct, perhaps, but it lacks soul, it lacks life. But as they practice, something shifts. The notes begin to flow. The melody takes on emotion. Eventually, they're not just playing the music, they're feeling it, living it, expressing something deep within themselves. The music has moved from their conscious mind into their very being. This is what must happen with your affirmations. They must move from mechanical repetition into genuine feeling, into lived experience within your imagination. When you affirm "I am prosperous," and you feel nothing, when your heart remains cold and your imagination unmoved, you're simply making sounds. You're practicing scales without music. But when you affirm "I am prosperous," and you feel the relief, the gratitude, the freedom that prosperity brings, when you see yourself living from that state, now you're creating. Now you're impressing your subconscious mind. I've watched people affirm health while dwelling in fear of disease. They say "I am healthy and strong" while simultaneously imagining worst-case scenarios, rehearsing symptoms, and emotionally preparing for deterioration. Do you see the contradiction? Your subconscious doesn't hear your words, it feels your dominant emotional state. If your affirmation of health is weak and your fear of illness is strong, which do you think your subconscious will manifest? You must learn to feel your way into your desire. Before you speak your affirmation, establish the feeling first. Close your eyes. Imagine your desire fulfilled. What would it feel like? Not just superficially, but deeply. If you desire a loving relationship, don't just picture someone's face. Feel the warmth of being cherished. Feel the security of being understood. Feel the joy of sharing your life with someone who delights in you. Build that feeling until it's real in your imagination. Then, from that feeling state, speak your affirmation. Now your words and your emotions are aligned. Now you're speaking the language your subconscious understands. This is why I say that feeling is the secret. Feeling is the conductor between your conscious desire and your subconscious creative power. When you learn to generate the feeling state of your wish fulfilled, you bypass years of struggle. You stop waiting for circumstances to change so you can feel good. Instead, you feel good now, and circumstances rearrange themselves to match your inner state. This is not positive thinking. Positive thinking is conscious. It's shallow. It's the mind saying words it doesn't believe. What I'm teaching you is deeper. It's the art of impressing your subconscious through feeling. And when your subconscious is impressed, it must express. It has no choice. It's law. Let me show you how to do this practically. Tonight, before you sleep, you're going to construct a scene, not a complicated one, simple, brief, but specific. A scene that would naturally occur after your wish is fulfilled. Not the wish itself, but the evidence of it. If you desire financial freedom, don't imagine stacks of money. That's abstract. Instead, imagine a friend congratulating you. Hear their voice, feel their handshake. What would they say? I'm so happy for you. You really did it. Make it real. Make it sensory. If you desire health, imagine your doctor shaking his head in amazement. See his surprised expression. Hear him say, I can't explain it, but you're completely healthy. Feel the relief in your chest, the lightness in your body. The scene should be short, a few seconds, but loop it, repeat it, feel it. And here's the critical part. As you fall asleep, let that scene be the last thing in your consciousness. Let it escort you into sleep. Because sleep is when your conscious guard drops and your subconscious is most receptive. This is called the state akin to sleep. That drowsy state where you're not fully awake but not yet asleep. In that moment, your subconscious is wide open. Whatever you plant there, it accepts. No argument. No resistance. Pure reception. And when you do this faithfully, night after night, something remarkable happens. Your subconscious begins to harden into fact. The thing you've been feeling is true. The invisible becomes visible. The imagined becomes actual. And this is where most people stumble. They wait for the visible evidence before they dare to feel the emotion. They say, show me the money, then I'll feel abundant. Give me the relationship, then I'll feel loved. Heal my body, then I'll feel healthy. But that's backward thinking. That's living from the outside in. You must reverse the process. Feel it first. Embody the state first. Let the emotions saturate your being before a single circumstance changes. This is the secret that separates those who manifest effortlessly from those who struggle endlessly. I've seen people transform their entire financial situation by first transforming their feeling about money. Not by working harder, not by chasing opportunities, but by sitting quietly each day and truly feeling what it would be like to live without financial anxiety. They practiced the sensation of security. They rehearsed the emotion of abundance. And their outer world rearranged itself to match that inner state. Your subconscious doesn't respond to words. It responds to feelings. You can affirm, I am wealthy 1,000 times, but if underneath those words is the trembling vibration of fear and lack, your subconscious accepts the feeling, not the statement. It reads the emotional signature you're broadcasting, and it says, this is what we're creating, more experiences that generate this exact feeling. So you must become emotionally honest with yourself. What are you really feeling most of the day? What's the background mood that colors your experience? Because that background mood is your creative state. That's the energy you're using to paint your future. If you walk around feeling overlooked, you'll continue to be overlooked. If you move through your days feeling undervalued, you'll attract circumstances that undervalue you. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because your feeling is the mold and life is the clay that fills it. Change the feeling, and you change everything. This is why I encourage you to practice feeling states deliberately, the way an athlete practices movements or a musician practices scales. Set aside time, even just 5 minutes, to feel the way you would feel if your desire were already fact. Don't imagine the details obsessively. Don't create elaborate visualizations. Just drop into the feeling. Let it wash over you. Let it become familiar. Because what's familiar becomes natural, and what's natural becomes automatic. Now, you might be thinking, Joseph, I've been doing all of this. I've been visualizing, I've been affirming, I've been feeling it, but I'm still not seeing the results I want. And if that's you, I want you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you. There's a critical element that most people miss. It's not just about the practice. It's about the consistency of your mental atmosphere. You see, your subconscious mind is always listening. It's always recording. And if you spend 20 minutes in the morning impressing it with wealth and success, but then spend the rest of your day dwelling on lack and limitation, what do you think wins? The longer impression always wins. The more consistent thought always dominates. Imagine you're trying to grow a garden. You plant beautiful seeds in the morning, you water them, you speak to them lovingly, but then, every afternoon, you come back and pour acid on the soil. What's going to happen to those seeds? They cannot grow. It doesn't matter how perfect your morning routine was. The destructive action cancels it out. Your mind works the same way. You cannot affirm abundance for 10 minutes and then complain about your bills for 3 hours and expect the abundance to manifest. You cannot visualize perfect health and then spend your day saying, "I always get sick this time of year," or "This pain is killing me." The subconscious mind accepts the dominant thought, the prevalent feeling, the consistent mental atmosphere you create throughout your entire day. So what's the solution? You must become a guardian of your thoughts. Not just during your meditation time, not just when you're consciously practicing, but throughout every moment of your day. This doesn't mean you become rigid or fearful of every thought. That's not what I'm suggesting at all. What I'm suggesting is that you develop awareness. You become conscious of the patterns running through your mind. And when you catch yourself dwelling on something that contradicts your desire, you gently redirect. You don't fight it. You don't resist it. You simply acknowledge it and choose again. You say, "That's the old pattern. That's the old belief. But I'm choosing something different now." And then you return to the feeling of your wish fulfilled. This becomes easier with practice. At first, you might catch yourself hours later, realizing you've been worried all afternoon. That's fine. That's progress. The fact that you noticed means you're becoming more aware. The next time, you'll catch it sooner. Eventually, you'll catch it in the moment. And finally, those old patterns will simply fade away because you're no longer feeding them with your attention. This is the great adventure of self-discovery. You're not just changing your thoughts, you're reclaiming your power. You're stepping out of the victim role and into the creator role. You're no longer at the mercy of circumstances, people, or past conditioning. You become the author of your own experience. And here's what happens when you truly embrace this understanding. Life starts to flow. Opportunities appear. Doors open. The right people show up at the right time. Not because the universe suddenly decided to favor you, but because you're no longer blocking your own good with contradictory thoughts and feelings. Your subconscious mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant grows. If you plant seeds of lack, worry, and fear, that's what flourishes. If you plant seeds of abundance, peace, and confidence, that's what takes root and blooms. The soil doesn't judge. It doesn't say, "This is a good seed, this is a bad seed." It simply grows whatever you give it. You are the gardener. Every thought is a seed. Every feeling waters those seeds. And the harvest you reap tomorrow is determined by what you're planting today. So I ask you now, what are you planting? When you look at your habitual thoughts, your dominant feelings, your mental conversations, are they seeds you actually want to grow? If not, now is the time to change them. Not tomorrow. Not when circumstances improve. Now, because you see, the circumstances will never improve first. That's not how this works. The inner always precedes the outer. Your external world is always a reflection of your internal state. Always. No exceptions. When you grasp this fully, you realize that every condition in your life is an opportunity. Every challenge is feedback. Every difficulty is simply showing you where your thinking needs adjustment. Nothing is happening to you, it's all happening for you, giving you the chance to choose differently, to think differently, to become more conscious of the power you hold.